Hello everyone, and welcome. In this video, we're going to explore together the bifurcation activity in BIZUIT Designer, a key tool for making decisions within a process, enabling the flow to be redirected based on the conditions we configure. We'll work with a simple yet practical example to understand how it works, step by step. To begin with, we'll define two variables. vClass, of type string, initialized with the value a. vDescription, also a string, but without an initial value. These variables will be essential for our demo. The bifurcation will evaluate the value of vClass to determine the execution path, while vDescription will store the result of that logic. Next, we'll add a bifurcation activity to the process. This activity splits the flow into multiple branches based on the defined conditions. While configuring it, we'll add a new branch. It's important to note that the last branch on the right is always treated as the else branch. It doesn't require any conditions and will execute when none of the previous ones apply. Now we'll define the conditions for each branch. Double-clicking on them opens the condition editor, where we can set our logic. The first branch will be triggered if vClass is equal to a. The second branch will activate if vClass equals b. Finally, the else branch will apply when vClass doesn't match any of the previous conditions. Inside each branch, we'll use a formula activity to assign a value to the vDescription variable. If vClass equals a, we'll set vDescription to first class. If it's B, we'll assign business class. And for the else branch, we'll use economy class. This logic lets us see how the bifurcation activity determines the path and updates the vDescription variable accordingly. Let's add a breakpoint at the bifurcation activity to monitor each step in the execution. When we run the flow, we'll inspect the initial values of vClass and vDescription, track how the conditions are evaluated, and finally, check the final values once the process ends. First, we'll run the process with vClass equals a, and confirm that vDescription is set to first class. Then, we'll change vClass to b, and run it again, to verify that it switches to business class. Finally, we'll set vClass to a value other than a or b. Since none of the previous conditions are met, the else branch will be triggered, assigning the value economy class. With this demonstration, we've learned how to configure and use the branching activity to guide a workflow based on specific conditions. We also reviewed the step-by-step behavior by analyzing how branches are evaluated and how values are assigned throughout the process. This activity plays a key role when implementing business logic within your flows in BIZUIT Designer. Thanks for joining us. We hope this example helps you better understand how to implement the bifurcation activity in your own processes. See you in the next video.